Yeah, we're live here on the Mystical Spiral Store.com is our sponsor today, and this is the Space Water Podcast exclusively on Exploring the Ka with Castaldo YouTube channel. That's right. It's October 12th, 2025, and this is episode 74 of the Space Water Podcast. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, but we had Gary Wayne on yesterday. Really incredible show. And I actually just got done last weekend at a conference called the New York Summit Conference. Pretty cool lineup. It was myself, Mike Barra, Brad Olson, Kerry Cassidy, um, Laura Eisenhower, Heather Holmes. Few cool people were there. What's up in the chat room? Welcome, David. I hope you guys are doing well. David Von Villay. Glad you guys are here. Welcome to the Space Water Podcast, where we dive into the sound of the light. Of course, my name is Castaldo, and today we're going to get deep. Welcome, Jimmy Satterfield. Hope you guys are doing well in the chat room. We'll wait for some people to join, more people to join before we get started. Of course, today is sponsored by the Mystical Spiral Store.com. And you can find our website right here, Mystical Spiral Store. We got all new items. I just put up, just finished the Uperlite Lava Stones. We got 2 left so far. So there were originally 5 of them. There's 2 left. So get them now while you can. The Uperlite Lava Stone Crystal Skull right here from the mysticalspiralstore.com. Really cool. Transforms in the UV light. So you guys can get that and everything else right here at the mysticalspiralstore.com. We got every price range, everything you could possibly want when it comes to gemstones and copper devices, copper healing devices, copper energy devices. Really cool. If you guys want more of the volcanic agate skulls, I sold out of the ones that I had. I custom made a couple of these for some people, and you see these ones, they're UV reactive, but we can have more made, but these are custom orders. So if you guys are looking for some more of these volcanic agate geodes, let me know privately, and we can get those for you made privately. We have so much up on the website right here, and remember, I do custom orders as well, and go in the menu. Not only do we have sub menus. I don't know if people are aware when they navigate my website, but it's pretty simple. We got submenus up here too. So if you're looking for specific types of crystals, like specimens, like somebody was talking to me about specimens the other day, messaging me on my website. Well, right here, you can go right down to crystal specimens and you'll see specific, specimens that we have. All types of specimens, pyrite, kyanite, hydro quartz, Lemurian quartz, spirit quartz, apophyllite, amethyst, all types of specimens here that you got. So if you're looking for any others, let me know. There's more in our inventory. This one was just recently sold out, the big volcanic agate specimen, but we made some skulls out of those, so really cool. We made some skulls out of these specimens, and they came out amazing. We have some hydro quartz, watermelon, also all sorts of watermelon tourmaline specimens as well. So if you guys are looking for readings, we got readings. I'll be doing a reading later tonight for somebody. And we got all sorts of pendants. We were I just had a booth as well at the conference, the New York Summit Conference. Not only did I speak both days, but I had a booth there. So a lot of people saw my products and got my products at that conference. So if you guys are looking for any custom orders, you contact me right at the website. But we got pretty much every kind of gemstone and different copper devices and gemstones. I'm the only one in the world that I know of that makes copper tensors around gemstones. So you got the most unique. products right here at the Mystical Spiral store. I highly recommend you guys get the crystal, the Euperlite lava stone. Really cool crystal skulls right here. And they're UV reactive. So look what they look like this in regular light. Really cool color. And then in the UV light, they transform. That's what it looks like in the UV light, like magma. Really cool, like pulsating magma. Oh, Heather, yeah, it was nice meeting you there as well. You were at the conference, yes. Nice meeting you there. So you guys, we do have a coupon code available as well. I do have some coupon codes available for you guys. Um, I might give those out at the end of the show. There's a coupon code we have a special one. I gotta get it from my wife, but I might give it out at the end of the show for you guys. But I put a lot of sales up on the website for you guys to check out. A lot of sales. You'll see there's a lot of slash prices and a lot of discounts on there. So I highly recommend you guys check that out. TheMysticalSpiralStore.com. And remember, go in the menu and you got all sorts of free information in here. A lot from my talk. If you guys saw me at the conference, I was talking a lot about the megalithic sites. Well, right here, you can find a lot of information that I even shared at the website on the conference, but more in depth right here. Congrats on the Wayne episode. You guys, I don't know if you guys realize, but I've been doing Gary Wayne episodes for 10 years. Gary has been coming on my show once or twice a month for 10 years. I've had various radio shows, various podcasts all over the year, all over over the last 10 years. So, yeah, I'm one of the first people to ever interview Gary Wayne. I started interviewing him in 2015. So, he's been on my first radio show was the Para X radio network I was on. It was called Spiral Radio. And then from there I went to the Truth Frequency Radio Network. Um, and I interviewed Gary once a month on the Truth Frequency Radio Network for like from 2000 I interviewed Gary Wayne from 2015 to 2017 on Spiral Radio on the Para X Radio Network. And then from 2017 to 2024, I was interviewing Gary once a month on the Truth Frequency Radio Network. You guys know out there who've been following my work on the Eye of Ra radio show. And then since when Truth Frequency Radio closed down in 2024, I started doing my own podcast, Space Water Podcast, right here on YouTube. So I've been interviewing Gary on the Space Water Podcast now for like a year and a half on YouTube. But I got 10 years of doing work with Gary Wayne. We're buddies, you know what I'm saying? We've been in correspondence for a decade, and I'm not just a regular host that has him come on. We're like colleagues. We share information. He gets information from me for his books on certain things like the Etruscans and things like that. He's come to me for information, and I've come to him for information. So we kind of I'm one of the kind of the only hosts that yeah, I don't even know if you guys have noticed, but there's times where Gary Wayne was actually taking notes during our interviews on some of the things that I've said. And he calls me an expert. I don't even call myself an expert, but he calls me an expert on like Etruscan folklore and certain mythology. I guess you could consider me an expert because I might look a little young, but I'm 47 years old and I've been um working on ancient religions, translating ancient writings, mythology for about 30 plus years. I mean, I started doing it as a kid. I was already reading mythology as a kid, but around 17, 18 years old, I started taking it more seriously. So it's been 30 years now that I've been doing this kind of work. So that's why I'm not just considered like I have psychic abilities and things like that, but I'm also a scholar. So I cherish the time that I have with Gary Wayne. And I think people misread me as well. I mean, I was raised Catholic Christian, and I also have mysticism in my bloodline. And I think when people see that I work with crystal skulls and I make copper devices, people start to think that's New Age. And there's nothing New Age about it. In fact, crystals is not new age. Some people might use it in a new age way, but you guys realize a lot of the people that consider themselves Christians and consider crystals evil or what have you, it's very funny because crystals are used in the Bible by by God's high priest Aaron. And Aaron, what does he have to do? He has to wear a chest plate of gold with gemstones embedded in it so he can hear the voice of God, so he can discern and attune to the voice of God, right? So crystals is not, I'm not using it in any sense of way like in a form of worship. It's a tool to tap in to the voice of the music of the harmony of the universe, right? It amplifies and it's a piezo. You guys understand? I've talked about this before, but there's a lot of new people every time I do a show. Most of the like quartz, a lot of the material I use is even electric. So when you rub it or compress it or work with it, it generates an electric current, right? And then you could put thoughts into it, frequency, right? It amplifies thoughts. So if you want to pray, I mean, what better thing to do is pray with something made of quartz, right? It's it's only the minds of man that make things evil. And unfortunately, you guys can look right in the Bible. Unfortunately, man makes things evil. Whoever wields, things can make the thoughts of man. But you guys look right in the Bible. Crystals are used so Aaron can hear and attune to the voice of God. And God makes crystals, he makes copper. It's all embedded in the earth for us to use. And there's nothing evil about it unless the thoughts of a man that's going into the crystal is evil. Right? Same thing with a pen. I've said it before. Like you can use it to attack somebody, or you can write a beautiful letter or a poem or draw. Right? It's the person wielding it. And it's really sad that people these are most people that contact me and be like, oh, this is like, how can you be this? And the people have the wrong idea. I actually believe in Christ. I'm a firm believer that Christ was had to be born a human birth and die a human death so he can dive into the afterlife and point the coordinates to heaven. We literally, since the fall of man, have lost the coordinates to the afterlife, to a higher harmonic evolution, back to a lighter existence, a higher existence, right? However you want to look at it. A higher harmonic evolution, heaven, whatever you want to call it. You know, we've lost our coordinates to the afterlife, and it was the most important thing to the ancient world. It is the universal language of the light is communicating with the light body, right? The universal symbolism that I've been discussing has to do with the language of the light, right? And ultimately, from my own experiences and my own opinion, I believe that our souls, our light bodies, are a form of what we call plasma, right? But it's the way life is formed is through communicating with the light of the universe, right? This is how life is formed and materialization happens. It's by communicating with the light. And everything that we see in the ancient world is universal symbology that has to do with a universal light language that I discuss. And I've been talking about this for a long time, and people are starting to catch on a little bit, right? And we're going to get into this universal light language tonight. And I hope people are with me. And you guys can find me at the mysticalspiralstore.com. Of course, it's not just the products there. There's a lot of information in the menu. Like I said, you guys can find. Also, I'm at Patreon, patreon.com/the mystical spiral. You guys can also support me right here in the super chat on YouTube. You can support me on PayPal. And literally, you can join for my Patreon for as low as $2 a month, and you get access to priceless information there all the time. Now, let's talk about some of this what I'm discussing in Vedic, what they call what a rishi is, and this ongoing war first. that I want to discuss that's been going on since the beginning of time. And we're in the thick of it right now. And that's the Asura and Deva war. And that's over the light, over the information that's coming from the stars that we're connected to. Right now, ultimately, our race, our species, is an Asura species. Now, what does that mean? Does anybody know in the chat room what that means? What does that mean when I say that? Let's see if you guys can get pitch in the chat room here today. When I say that, what our race or our species, rather, not race, our species, the human species right now, for thousands of years has been an Asura species. Give me one word in the chat room if you guys know what that means. One word that equals Asura in the chat room. Let's see if you guys can get it real quick. What's up, Charlotte? SM SMIC SMCK. Let's see what you guys got it. Come on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's warrior. Warrior. That's the best one word that would go with that. That right now we're a warrior species. An Asura species is a warrior type species that's about materialism, domination, greed, conflict, ego. Uh, it's dominated by ego. It's dominated by conflict and violence, and and it's about eating excessive foods and the extensive use of pharmaceuticals and drugs and keeping people intoxicated and addicted and gambling and the excess of sex and different types of mind control and perversions and dark magic forces on the planet. This is all the Asura current, the Asuric force. And this has been happening since the Vedic times. And it took the greatest of warriors and priest warriors to ever even overcome the Asura forces in the Asura and Deva wars, right? It was a constant battle between psychic forces and the forces of light and dark. And unfortunately, our species right now is under Asura control. It's under the control of violence and greed and ego. And it's about military forces and political forces, right? And seeking power. And that's not to say that the Asura energies are not mystics as well. They have their own mysticism. They have their own forces like that. It's not just about war and ego and greed. They use their mysticisms and dark forces for militant type ways, right? Their mantras and their yogi practices and all of their you know their mantras are developed for black magic and for domination and control. This is not just Vedic. This is worldwide. I'm using a Vedic term, yes, but the Asura and Deva tribes are also the Nephilim tribes. Don't confuse that, right? The ancient Asura and Devas are also the Egyptians and the Persians, and these are all the same universal tribes that split up, but they're all from the same origin. They all have the universal language. They all have similar similar knowledge in similar ways, but they split up in tribes all over the planet. And you guys can see the similar terms that they use for their gods, and the way they break down their hierarchies, very similar. But there's a universal language, a symbolism that connects you to the light, to the universal language of the light, right? And that's the only way that we're going to find ourselves back to a higher way of living and out of this dirty, dark, grimy, you know, really grimy swamp of energy that we currently live in. You guys can feel it. Don't you feel it? I mean, it's around you always. We're barely breathing in this swamp. Barely. And I don't think we were meant to be this way. And in Vedic, they have just in Sanskrit, they have some of the most eloquent ways of describing the way the plasma and the way the universe works, right? And it's pretty incredible. And it's I mean, it's not just in Sanskrit. I mean, they have it in the Dogon. I mean, it's all over the world. But some of the most incredible knowledge is being revealed to me just from learning the language of the light. There's a universal language that we can speak telepathically. And unfortunately, the technology that we're using today is a replication of the plasma universe of light, right? We have a holographic universe out there, a real one, right? And when we communicate with the light that's pulsating from every star and sun, we can literally form and create, materialize in this world, right? But instead of us harnessing the rays from the cosmos and using it at megalithic sites and energetic, like we literally have, guys, we have such an electric and magnetic planet. Like we have magnetic field lines just running through the planet and extending over the planet all around us, right? And we, these geomagnetic field lines everywhere just are pulsating, right? And we have these coordinates, energetic vortexes everywhere. And in the past, we built a whole network of megalithic structures and different standing stone all over the planet. So we can harness the solar and cosmic rays and pulsate that information and live in harmony. And so our sun, our moon, our magnetosphere can be in harmony and we can live in peace and harmony. But we instead destroyed that system. Instead, we now want to build machines so the machines can take the place of us and natural nature. Right? And we're using these machines to replicate what we should be doing, so we can sit back and have more leisure time instead of being more spiritually in tune with nature and the universe and evolving with it. And as one, instead, we want to build machines to do that for us. So instead of us being telepathically in tune with the collective consciousness of the planet, of humanity, and the universe, we now build machines so we can instant message each other instead of being telepathically being able to communicate with the collective. We now instant message each other in the collective. It's a replication. Everything's just a replication of what we should be doing. And it's destroying this, right? It's destroying this, right? I've talked about how, even in my presentation that I did at the conference, how what we're taught in school, it's archaic. It is archaic. Everything that we're told about the sun and about our solar system is archaic. We're even told it's a hydrogen gas sphere, where it's much different than that, right? You realize it's so hot where the electrons are stripped away. They're free moving. They're sentient. That's what plasma is. It's free moving, sentient electric fire, right? It's not a hydrogen gas sphere like they tell you in school. It's a plasma sphere, a plasma star. And all of these suns are stars, are plasma. They're streaming these rivers of plasma, rivers of light, the universal light language, the Akashic records. And within these rivers of light, they have all the codes of life and death, all the codes of creation, of sustenance, of evolution, and of dissolution and rebirth. The sun is the scarab, the Kepra, right? The one that's self sufficient, self produced, and reborn. And I've talked about in my presentations the sun with the wings, right? It's a common theme in all ancient cultures, Assyrians, Mesoamerican tribes, you got Egyptians, right? Hittites. That's not just some beautiful symbology. That is the powers of the solar wind, right? And when I tell you that each sun and star are these streaming these rivers of plasma, it's rivers of information, codes of light that have to do with forming life and sustaining life, all of that. And those rivers all form that confluence of one big celestial Akashic record ocean. It's in every religion and mythology, everyone. And I've said it like from the Hindu to the Hopi, right? It's 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 from all of them have them, right? And these streams are connected to the spinal current of who we are, right? Pulsating. And I talked about how in the conference as well, how I feel that our light bodies, our souls are a type of plasma, a blue plasma light that is comes right from the portal from the sun. And I was shown that the ankhs are coronal mass ejections. These are not just solar storms. What's coming from the sun is directly connected to the spiritual domain and the souls that are on our planet. They come right through the portal of the sun. They travel on magnetic field lines on these ankh loops. They are literally thrown from the sun, right out of the portal from the sun into our magnetosphere. And from our magnetosphere, the souls, these plasma lights are pulled down into wombs of the mother and they wrap around go right into the head of the baby, wrap around the spine of the baby, spirals around the spine, this light, and it's pulsating information up the spine to the back of the brainstem, slams into the back of the brainstem, floods the mind throughout your whole life with information and knowledge. And it could be knowledge from other lifetimes. Gives you your personality. It gives you your interests, certain things, certain abilities, certain things that this is the information that's connected to you from above, your soul, right? And when you die, that light is cut, and your light goes back to merge with the light of the universe. But we are caught inside of this swamp. We do not have the coordinates out of this dimension. We are wandering ghosts after death. Most of us will not find the way to the afterlife. That's why I believe I am here and various other people, the light bodies, have come back here to help guide humanity. It's why Christ came back here. And people, you should not be afraid to be in nature and to communicate with yourself and the light and to meditate and to meditate on the sun. We are here because of the sun, right? And if you start using solar yoga and even forget about solar yoga. Say you think that is there's something weird about it. How about creative expression? How about that? Right? Is that evil? Say you don't want to use crystals or what have you. Just creative expression. just from just time disappearing and you working on a poem or a song or art, you can tap in to that universal light language where, you start to understand and there's a universal telepathic inner symbols and codes and understanding. And through working with these inner sun worlds, if you want to say, right? And you start to bring into this physical reality, and you start to align with the light of the universe. And this is why Sanskrit mantras were developed originally, right? Was to literally align us with the primal sounds of nature and the universe, right? With the gods. The gods are the celestial lights, right? Ultimately, the God is the universe, right? But then you have all of these children of God, all of these other lights of the universe, suns and stars, right? And I do feel that coronal mass ejections are one of the key technologies of star suns. And it's how souls get delivered. It's a soul delivery system. It's not just a storm coming from the sun. It's an intelligence that's delivering information here. It's the golden ring of the gods, the golden noose of the gods, the plasma loop of the gods, right? And they describe it in many ways in Vedic, and I believe they're related to bringing not just auroras here, but souls here, right? It's all related. The indigenous people would call auroras the manitos, right? The souls, and even in Etruscan, they literally called the 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 spirito di alba is the auroras, the spirit of the dawn, the lo spirito de lo spirito di alba. That is the spirit of the dawn, the spirit of the auroras in Etruscan and Italian. And it's the same type of symbology, you know. It's incredible. And they have Tessonia, I think it's called Tessonia is another one, like and the spirits of the winds. All of this is related. When you see like gods of the winds, they're talking about solar wind and stellar winds. It's really incredible. Now let me show you some other symbolism that might blow your guys' mind real quick, right? So let me get it up on my screen first before I share it. So this is Baal Hadmon, right? And you'll see that he's depicted here. Now, Baal is a storm god, not just a storm god, but uh he's farts, farts of the gods. Who said farts of the gods? So Baal is not just a storm god. This is Baal Hadmon, right? He's not just a storm god. And you guys can go on my Patreon and get this as well. Um, but he's also a sun god, right? And you see the symbolism here. Look at this. He's got these circular horns coming out, right? And also the sheep, of course, the sheep, they bring warmth with their warm fleece. When you see like the golden fleece references, that has to do with the sun. I don't know if you guys realize that, but that's all solar symbology and solar knowledge there, right? Now, this spiral that you see here coming from the sun god, this is a sun god, remember. So he represents the sun itself. And you see coming from the head of the sun a spiraling out pattern, right? This is the way solar wind and coronal mass ejections, he's a storm god, right? This is the way storms come from the sun. They call it the Parker spiral. When you have solar wind, solar storms, they literally spiral out from the sun, right? So you can look it up online if you want to get into it, and we can go really deep into this if you guys want to follow with me. If you guys don't believe me, if you think I'm just whipping this out of my butt, but it's the most advanced knowledge when you see the symbolism like this. And not only is it advanced, it's incredible because it's showing that they had the inner sight to see things that we need advanced technology to see today, right? And that's for sure. That's for sure. And you can see spiral patterns. They're found in not just um, coronal mass ejections. I mean, they're you'll see them in nebulas. You'll see them in all sorts of things. Now, uh, let me show you another. See, this is another ball Hadmon. You see the spiraling out from the sun god, right? Now, let me show you. This is what the Parker spiral is, right? That's that's what ball Hadmon is showing right there. That Parker spiral that I just showed you guys. Hold on. Let me go back to it. So let me show you guys the Parker spiral. See, this is the Parker spiral. Helicomagnetic field structure that fills our solar system creates as the sun's magnetic field is pulled and twisted by the outward flowing solar wind. That's exactly what's going on with the ball and all symbolism that you see with I mean, it's not just with ball. I mean, it's with every freaking sun god. When you see ram horns and all those horns coming out from the deities like that, it all has to do with this. It's they also call it here it is, the Archimedean spiral right here. The structure is an Archimedean spiral where the magnetic field lines they're stretched and warped by the sun's rotation and the expansion of the solar wind from Eugene Parker. Right, so we call it this Parker spiral, but in the past they were using ram horns and different things to signify this. It's really incredible when you get into it, right? And let me stop sharing for a second. Let me pull something up before let me get it before I share again. He looks like your dad. Your dad's got that beard like Ball had man. He looks like Kyle's dad. All right, so even when we go like to the Hittites, look at all this plasma symbology here. I mean, really incredible. These are all, mind you, sky gods, right? So these are all sky gods. Chippa and all these are sky gods. And you can see this sky god here that's standing on the cattle. These cattle, rams, all the bulls. When you see bulls and rams and cattle, they all have to do a rays of light in symbolism. And these are tribes that come right from Sanskrit. These are Aryan tribes, right? The Hittites, they were Asura tribe, an Asura warrior tribe. And you see this, they're streaming rivers of light. You can even see this sun god, this deity, she's about to twist magnetic field lines. In my opinion, these are twisting magnetic field lines that form the coronal loops of the sun. And she's literally standing on the rays of light. This cattle represents the rays of light. And she's twisting magnetic field lines. She's about to twist those. She's holding magnetic field lines. These are all twisting magnetic field lines that look at, and there's a spiral. This lotus flowers that they call the blue lotus or lotus flowers, these all represent plasma cone structures that accelerate the light of the universe. These cone-like structures, these cones, see these cones all over these cone-like structures? This is all universal symbolism. You'll see this is the way these cone-like structures form in the plasma to accelerate the light, to stream the light. You could see it in Anthony Perrot's plasma experiments. You could see it in David LaPointe's primer field experiments. You could see it in certain pulsars, like the Vela pulsar and the Crab Nebula pulsar. These structures form, right? I've showed you guys this before. So this is incredible symbology. Look at these are twisting magnetic field lines that are forming loops. You guys see this, right? This is incredible divine knowledge of the universal light language. And this is from the Hittites. Look at this. All incredible symbol. Look at twisting magnetic field lines. Even the Vedic Maruts. Now, maybe there's only 8 of you here today, but you guys are in for a treat because the Vedic Maruts are, in my opinion, talking about solar storms, coronal mass ejections. The Maruts are spelled Maruts, but they're one of the most incredible children of the gods in the Rig Veda. They're the children of Rudra. Rudra is a sun god, but the howler of the sun. He's a warrior of the sun, a storm coming from the sun. And the Maruts, they're they're one of the main part of the Rig Veda, and they're a swarm coming from the sun. And it's incredible how they describe it because it's advanced plasma physics, really advanced. And we're going to get into this a little bit. And the mother of the Maruts, she's called the Prisni, right? But she's also mentioned as the mother of the mighty one, the bull, Rudra, right? And when you see bull references, they're the male or the warrior characteristics, the forces of the sun. When you see female characteristics, it's like the creation parts of the nurturing of the sun, the creation and nurturing of the sun, right? Those characteristics. So there's all these different characteristics and attributes of the sun that you'll see in the symbolism and the advanced knowledge of the way solar storms work and the way they deliver information and souls to Earth, right? And the bull Rudra, right? And who's the father of these Maruts. And Rudra, I mean, it's really incredible when you look at the characteristics and everything of this. And they're looked at as being terrifying and as they can grow, they grow, they become stronger and all of this, right? And that their place is in the heavens and uh, when they talk about their movements and their appearance, all of this is advanced symbolism of solar storms. What's up, Charlotte? They're manifold in nature, right? They have different representations as wearing golden rings, like coronal mass ejections, right? They can assume all these different forms, and they're twisting and turning like that. They're shining ones. They're rays of light, right? They're sparkling like warriors. They have rain for a garment, right? We're gonna get into this because this is really incredible, right? Especially when they talk about the sweating and the movement and how they're like lightning and all of this, right? It's just incredible, right? So let's get into this. Their seat or abode of the Maruts is in the heavens. All right. So they're coming from the sun. They're coming from Rudra. They're coming from the heavens. More specifically, they're coming near the vault of the heaven. And sometimes they stay on the mountain of the heaven. Now, the magnetosphere is a jagged, mountainous landscape. It's one of the most eloquent metaphors you can use for it, right? And they talk about how they mostly emerge from the heavens, but they also might come from the intermediate space, right? And they arise swift, quick, like as lightning, moving quickly, even darting. They compare to the flight of birds or the flowing, streaming of waters. The movements of the Maruts are characterized as being volatile and changing direction, often like fire, right? Like antelopes, they also describe it, right? They fly through intermediate space. They cross over all the heavenly regions. They traverse earthly needs and compulsions. They moving up to the region. They rise upwards like mad conceptions. They move along their course together with the winds of the heavens. This is how they're described. They're described as lightnings and rays, running easily like chariots, right? To propel the chariots, the Maruts employed dappled mares, they describe it, right? And this is all solar references, right? And their chariots, their dappled mares, their horses, their antelopes, all of these references have to do with solar references and also crooked, always these crooked horns or crooked staffs or crooked type of references have to do with the crooked fire of the coronal mass ejection, the crooked flame of God, right? Yes, right. And yes, I talked about with Gary Rain about crystals in the Bible before. Yeah, I've talked about him. He even thinks that, wow, it's obvious that crystals are used all throughout the Bible, right? I guarantee you, if Jesus was here today, he'd be wearing like a necklace of amethyst or something like that, right? Has nothing to do with never or anywhere in Christianity, but from a human's mouth does it say that crystals are not to be used, right? Um, well, also let's get into this real quick with the Maruts because when you have what the Maruts do, this is advanced solar symbolism. We're going to get into this, right? Why is somebody saying that in the chat room again, or are you just saying what I was saying? Yeah, people are yeah, people are I don't worry about what people say like that. They can say whatever they want. So Maruts and they're talking about the Maruts, right? That they agitate the heavens and the earth and they shake off the limits and vigorously tear down obstacles. And they also describe them in the Rig Veda as they shake the naughty ones, right? So look at right here. These are the naughty ones. These are the coronal loops, twisting magnetic field lines. They shake the naughty ones, right? And they also describe them as they shake the naughty ones. This is in Rig Veda 326 4D and 554 1B, and they make them move back and forth. They shake the celestial places of existence and the celestial sheath. That's incredible. That's exactly what we call the plasma sheet and plasma sheath, and magneto sheath, and everything, right? We call it almost the same thing. And now we're gonna get into some really incredible symbolism that I'm gonna get into, and you guys are gonna love this, right? They talk about these Maruts in the Rig Veda, these solar beings, as they're sprinkling abundantly. They swell the spring, the waters. They discharge a fountain. They make the ground swell with the juice. They drench the earth with the juice of honey, of golden honey, right? They're drenching the earth with the golden storm and of the sun. You guys can read that, right? The Maruts, they talk about in Rig Veda 234, 1a, they envelope streams. And in 558, 3a, they carry the waters of the heavens. They bind the water, the celestial rain in 558, 3b of the Rig Veda. And they blow over, right? And they talked about, it specifies that the rain, the celestial rain of the Maruts is sweating. Wow. Now, I'm going to blow your guys' mind. They're talking about the celestial solar rain sweating, literally sweating. Now, that's incredible because a coronal mass ejection, let me explain this to you guys, or an aurora can be metaphorically described as magnetic field lines sweating. And that's what the Maruts are. It's the most compelling analogy for the release of energy and particles from highly stressed magnetic field lines. And it completely accurately reflects the dynamic processes of solar weather. And these are solar beings, right? And CMEs it's like a magnetic sweating, right? It's a metaphor that refers to the sun's magnetic field lines reaching a point of such extreme stress, similar to the way our body sweats when it becomes overheated, and when we start exerting great effort and we start getting overheated, we do the same thing. The sun's magnetic field lines are always in constant motion, and they become entangled, right? And twisted by the convection of plasma and differential rotation of the sun. And this is what forms coronal mass ejections and Ankh loops that I describe, right? When the pent up energy becomes too great, the magnetic field lines, they explosively release a massive Ankh or bubble or loop of plasma and magnetic material into space. This event is the sweating or the burst of the Marut, the burst of the system, the releasing of the tension that has built up. And this is exactly how the Maruts are described as stress being built up, roaring through the solar system, fearless and flames of fire as sweating celestial rain, right? When a CME and the auroras, right? Let's get into this. The auroras and the magnetic sweating, right? When a CME or a stream of solar wind reaches Earth, it compresses and it disturbs our planet's magnetic field, what we call the magnetosphere, right? Well, this is where the aurora's sweating starts to happen, right? When a CME, uh, right, okay, so when Earth's magnetosphere starts to absorb and dissipates the electromagnetic energy from the incoming particles, the magnetic field lines, they're stretched and freaking distorted like a rubber, like a stressed out rubber band. And it's a bead of sweat, right? During this process, energized electrons, they stream down the magnetic field lines into the upper atmosphere. And it's near the poles, right? And they release a stream of particles. It's like a glowing drip, a glowing bead of sweat, a glowing drip, right? And it comes near the poles. This is what we see as the auroras. They release these stream of particles and this bead of glowing drip, and it's released along the magnetic field line. And when those energetic particles collide with uh, freaking nitrogen and oxygen and molecules that's in our atmosphere, they transfer their energy and cause the atmospheric molecules to glow. These are the Maruts. And this glowing reaction is the aurora itself. They're spirits of the sun, right? And when you can be thought, you can think of these as a visible, brilliant drip of glowing energy from stressed magnetic field lines, right? And you can see them even described right in here from the Hittites, right? And the Hittites is direct knowledge passed down from the Vedas, right? From the Vedas. I shit you not. This is the bead of sweat of the Maruts, and it's oh yeah, I see it, Charlotte. I see in the chat room under the post from Gary's page, yeah. And guys, and they're described just like this. Now, after me giving you that description of the Maruts, look at how they're described at what they do in the Rig Veda and some of their characteristics, right? And some of the translations and some of the symbols that they're used, right? Some of the power that they have. Now remember, everything that's coming from the sun is connected to the spiritual domain of humans, right? The spiritual life on earth cannot exist without our heaven around earth, our magnetosphere, the duat, Antarksha in Vedic, right? And this sweating is an incredible, beautiful, eloquent metaphor for the Maruts, right? And if you want, I can go into some verses of the Maruts to show you guys. And in the Rig Veda 1, 3, 3. I have both the Sanskrit and the English translations here, but they're incredible. They're incredible. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe if you already haven't subscribed. It actually says in my analytics on YouTube that over 60% of people that listen to my Space Water podcast are not subscribed. I can't believe that. That's the people that's coming for Gary Wayne that aren't subscribed to my podcast. But guys should definitely subscribe to my work, and you guys see all the items that I make, the energy devices that I make. It's just me, my daughter, and my wife that are involved in my company, right? There's nothing bad about it, right? We use items that come from the earth, crystals and copper, and it's only to help protect us from the harmful EMF waves and to help us tap into who we are and where we fit in nature and the universe. And nowadays, we're under such bombardment of unseen energies that you need a little protection around you and a little help in the war that we're in, right? And that's where we come in. I've been guided by God, by the universe, by however you want to look at it. And I had to take my power back at a young age. For those that don't know, I had a unique birth. I've talked about it before. I was born inside the call. I brought this up in I'm going to bring this up here now, but I brought this up in my presentation I did over the weekend in uh in Long Island when I spoke alongside Laura Eisenhower and Mike Barra and Brad Olson and all those people, Kerry Cassidy and all those people. Uh, we're given codes at birth, right? You guys, we're given codes. These codes follow us. They have our blood type, they have our genetics, they have everything, right? And this is used in clandestine, all sorts of clandestine operations, star magic, and babies that are born in the call, like I was, make some of the best candidates for some of these clandestine programs, right? Babies that were born inside the call were coveted by midwives and shaman. And nowadays doctors are just on the payroll and they know what babies are born which way in the hospitals and all of that. And throughout the year we have what's called the ember days. These are the equinoxes, the solstices. These are the eclipses days as well. And certain bloodlines out there, they use star magic on these days, and they'll use the code of the specific individual, and they will try to guide and manipulate the life of that individual, right? So this is not some woo woo type of thing. This is something that is well known, right? Well known to some. And if you guys even want to get a book where they talk about people that were born in the call and them getting interrogated even during the Holy Inquisition about their night travels, astral travels during certain times of the year, like the solstice and the equinox. Get this book. He's actually was an Italian Jew, Carlo Ginsberg, right? You don't get more Italian Jewish than that. Carlo Ginsberg, the night battles. He was a professor, Professor Carlo Ginsberg. He taught in the University of Bologna and the University of California in Los Angeles. He also was an author, a really good author, and I'm not sure if he's still alive. He'd probably be in his 80s or 90s right now or older. He might be still alive, Carlo Ginsberg, but originally this was called I Benedante. Now it's called The Night Battles, the American version. And this is courtroom testimonies of people that were interrogated during the Holy Inquisition during those times. A lot of these interrogations took place. Let's see, this one took place in the 1570s. Most of these were in the 1500s, I think, in here. Yeah, and they discuss a lot of what I'm discussing. That on certain times of the year, it's really intense, and those born in the call seem to have a deep connection to a deeper connection to the dream time, to the dream world, right? Yep. What else we got here? Yeah, I want to get into the pyramid text too, but we'll probably go. We might go live later tonight as well, but I have to do a reading in a little bit for somebody, so we're gonna cut it short in a minute. But guys, go to the mysticalspiralstore.com. I showed you guys the website earlier. Let me show you guys real quick. There's a lot of free info up there as well, and all new products. Always all new products up there. I put new products up every day. I just put the Uper Light Skulls up today. There's two left right here, Uper Light Skull, and that's shipping included. And shipping is becoming more expensive every time I go to the post office. So I highly recommend you guys get things as now before it's astronomically, incredibly too much to ship stuff out. They're making it so hard for little people to ship things out nowadays. But we only got two left of the lava stone, the Uperlite lava stone crystal skulls. They're so cool. And we got so much more for you guys up here. I even have one Moldavite left. This is the last one of the Moldavites. I have one more I can custom make for you guys if you're looking for Moldavite, one more piece of Moldavite. But there's so much up here, guys, in the website. So much you guys can get up here. And if you guys got any questions, just contact me on the website. You guys can get even a little strawberry quartz. Look, that's cute. Only seven. That's shipping included right there, too, for a short strawberry quartz amulet. So cool. And you got Lemurian golden opal. Oh man, look at this. That's a great price for that too. Ethiopian opal on sale. That's shipping included, and it comes with necklace material and a free gift. You guys got everything you could possibly want up here. And don't forget, There's so much free information in the menu too, guys. Don't forget what's up in the menu. There's submenus. See, look at palm stones, skulls, specimens, towers, wands, everything up here. And you got all sorts of free information here. Look, all sorts of free information. And you can go right to my podcast too, right from there. Everything's up on there. My YouTube, my podcast, you can go right to it right here. So, might take a second to pop up, but it should pop up. Pretty sure it'll pop up. Oh, yeah, it's still loading. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, so you could pop right up to the Space Border podcast. Everything's in the menus. You got my colleagues. You guys can check out my colleagues here. Maria Wheatley, Lori Bruno, Glenn Kreisberg, Professor Chandra, Gary Wayne, the Sun Yogi, Robert Phoenix. You can add Laird Scranton on there. I gotta add a couple more people on there too. But we got all sorts of free information up here, everybody. This is my Mystical Spiral website that I transferred over to here. So you got all sorts of free information that you could find up here, like you could all weekend. So this is about call bearers, my bloodline, all sorts of information on here. Look at that, all sorts of information. And then you got, let's see, yeah, the Vedic solar diamonds, megalithic secrets. There's a lot of stuff on here. Quasar network. Oh yeah, this has got a lot of stuff on this page as well. A lot of cool stuff on here, guys. So check it out. MysticalSpiralStore.com. We'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to go to the MysticalSpiralStore.com as well. Get yourself a pendant or crystal copper device